next generation spaces within UCC. So Colette is the reason, I suppose, really that the instructional design team are now based in the library, and the library studio that you saw earlier on.
It's lovely.
It is a lovely space. Plus the library studio that you saw earlier on really is a result of collaboration between the instructional design team and Colette. So just want to thank Colette for that. Colette's going to be talking about libraries of the future. I've unfortunately curtailed Colette. I've asked her to bring it back to 15 minutes, and I'll be doing the same to the other speakers as well. So Colette McKenna.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tom. I'm delighted to be here, obviously, because I'm talking about... Where's my presentation, by Tom? Do you know?
Did you want a presentation?
I did. Thank you. I'm talking about my most favourite thing, or nearly my most favourite thing in the whole world, which is libraries. And you may have seen outside, we actually are running a campaign with the hashtag Love Your Library, which is all to do with green and sustainability. And we have great partners here in UCC, and it's the importance earlier, I think, of what Stephen showed in one of his very impressive slides, very near the end, about collaboration. Everything is about collaboration. We work with the instructional designers, we're working with Mark and his team in buildings and estates, we work with teaching and learning, we work with researchers. We work with everyone to try and make this library, both physically and virtually, the best that it can be. And we still have a long way to go. So, I thought I could have shown you a whole lot of lovely pictures of libraries, and I don't think that necessarily really does it. You need to know why I'm doing it in the first place. And I thought it would be more valuable to start this presentation off for a few minutes and look at the big picture. What is the big picture that is actually driving libraries and the thinking behind libraries and library directors like myself worldwide? And this is worldwide. There's little difference here in any of the libraries that I'm talking about in the principles that we're going from. So these are the big themes, and I've got about 3 slides of these. First of all, we are the gatekeepers to information and knowledge. So a lot of our libraries is about content, and our content is physical and it's digital. So we have to keep that in mind when we think of what do you expect from a library. There's going to be content, whether it be books, whether it be our special collections, whether it's digital. Because it's digital, we now have to think of the new media and technology. All of this here. Whoops, I keep doing that every time. We have to think of new media and technology. So we're not talking about only books as such. We are talking now about the library studio downstairs. Our students are going to be using that as our academics. There's going to be output coming from that. That is research output, as well as other types of output. How do you actually store that? How do you manage it as a library? How do you find that output in a catalogue? So that's, again, very much traditional library, but evolving it with technology. We're always under financial constraint, and you will be aware, I'm quite sure, about the whole open access movement, and of course libraries want open access for everyone. We're under serious constraint there with our publishers. And we in particular must balance our role as a place for independent study and collaboration. We have to give the opportunity to our users to have the choice of the environment they want to work in, whether it's individual study, nice quiet place, group study rooms, or a room like this here. And there's many actual different environments in every corner of this room. It can be configured in many different ways, or it can be the whole one room. And this is really small scale compared to what other libraries are doing, but it's a really good start for us. So these are our themes. Next ones. We have to cater to all of our patrons, our users, by making sure that they are the centre of everything. So the focus of everything that we do is our user. So we have to look at user-centric design. And as you heard earlier, we have to know how people use things, how they want to use them, how our children want to use them, how our students want to use things, and take that data and go with that. To use all the information that we have in the formats that is coming, digital literacy is absolutely crucial. So you can't see it today, but if I could come in here at any one time, and we've got high desks, there's about 5 of them, opposite every screen here, and all of our students are sitting, working on their laptops and directing up to the screen. But how do our students know how to use this stuff? Are they using it in the best way? Are you all using it in the best way? So that's where the whole digital and media literacy comes into, and that's where libraries are absolutely crucial as well. We already do that as part of our roles with information literacy, and our librarians teach on that. We have to defend our fundamental values, and I know we didn't talk about it, it was mentioned, fake news earlier. It's absolutely crucial that libraries and librarians in their profession are actually showing how you spot fake news. How do you do it? So there's a whole lot of critical thinking and all that stuff going on there. Okay, so this is one of our big themes. And the other thing is we have to look at how we reorganise ourselves. And you all know that yourselves in your own organisational structures, my organisational structures. How am I going to change those to actually adapt so that we can evolve to meet what we really have to? And you might be interested to know in a new role that I have just advertised recently is a head of academic technology and communication. And you'll see how that fits in a minute. We don't get very many roles like that in libraries at the moment, but that has really taken what we're doing here in learning spaces forward. So the whole thing about digital scholarship and technologies, especially in the research landscape, is evolving. People are producing research in a very different way. It's all under discussion at the minute. And the other thing that's way down the line for us is the whole thing about artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things. So, don't want to be too long on this because I'm under time. These are trends that are accelerating technology adoption. And you can see here at the minute, I'll go down to the bottom, short term, research data management and the user experience. So every library that you're talking to, that's what we're currently working on at the minute. I'll show you why that's important for learning spaces and technology. 2 minutes time. Patrons as creators, there's your maker spaces. We expect our students to have the opportunity to come into areas like this, or maker spaces, or spaces that have stuff you can play with. And I literally do like the word play, I use it myself a lot, because I think a lot of learning happens through play and making stuff. And we need to have that. We don't have it yet here, but we do need to have maker spaces. Nearly every library has them. And we need to rethink our library space to allow all of this other stuff to happen. So I can just tell you very briefly, we've got about 4 more floors in this library. We've got 3 floors of books. I intend shortly to have, some stage, 2 floors of books and 1 other floor for other stuff, if you want to put it that way. We'll make sure that the access to books will be there as you need it and fast, but we are going to give technology-rich space when I get the money from somebody, and actually plan that floor in such a way that users can come in and use the library. In particular, our academics who can actually work from their offices much more don't use the library. I have seen places, for example, in the Hunt Library in North Carolina State University, who have a lovely lounge for academics where they can sit and collaborate. I'm not talking about our staff room, but it is a lovely space within the library along with other technology-rich spaces. It's for your academics. You can have a similar space for your researchers. So you can have lots of really nice space like that. The other thing is the whole thing about cross-institution collaboration. I'll give you an example of that. I was in North Carolina State University, very impressed with one of the rooms, I'll show you later. Lots of digital projectors, no windows, had all these digitised images up on the 4 walls. It happened to be the manuscript, Voynich manuscript, which has a connection with UCC through Bull. And here am I sitting in North Carolina, and it turned out that that manuscript is in Yale, it's owned by Yale, but the students and the academics were collaborating in North Carolina and in Yale, working on the same manuscript in the same room because it was digitised. That is cross-institution collaboration, and I thought that was a lovely, neat little example of how we could be doing this. Those are the kind of years, as I mentioned, so there's quite a... And you know what? it'll happen even faster than this, I'm quite sure. Every time they put a kind of year limit on it, take another year off it. It's going to happen faster than that. So, rethinking library spaces. And I'm going to use the example of the Hunt Library, which I did visit. You should have a look at it. It's now you've got these websites anyway, it's very clearly on the web. I'm not going to go into this here, the Library of the Future, because it's now 8 minutes long. It was 3 minutes, they extended it to 8, but it's a lovely description of what you can do in their library and the ethos behind it. And I can guarantee nearly every university librarian in the land, in Ireland, in the UK and elsewhere, Europe, have all visited this library one way or the other because it's won masses of awards, because it can show you what technology can do. Michael's been from Buildings and Estates, which is great that he did do that. Now, the Hunt Library, a serious amount of money went into it, but there's another library on campus called the Hill Library, and it's an older library. It's like this, but it just shows you what you can do in an older library that you refurbish. Low-hanging fruit, little money, you can actually, with a bit of thought, get exactly the same results as a very serious, high-tech library with lots of money put into it. It just depends on a little bit of creative thinking and the will to do it, in my opinion. So, going down from that, if I can, can't remember where I had it. Oh yeah, the rooms. If you look, they will give you a description of all of the rooms. How do I get back to this? Anyway, go in and have a look at the description of all of the rooms in the Hunt Library. It will show you the digitalisation studios, it will show you visualisation studios and creative studios. And when I mentioned earlier before about research, you may wonder, why am I talking about research? I'm talking about the output of research and big data, and how, if you have the appropriate studios like the visualisation studio, that your students and the researchers can be working together interactively in those kind of rooms to actually display the data that they're getting from projects. So that's the value of that kind of technology in a room. And again, if you look at this other library, I think, which is in Australia, again, they have a learning lounge. Bring your own device, no technology, because students are bringing their own devices. They have what's called a survival station. I wondered what that was. It basically was water and actually just a microwave, so students could use it if they wanted it. But most importantly, swipe access 24/7. So there you are, you've got a facility sitting in the middle of the library for your learning lounge. Come in and use it anytime and use your swipe card. A lot of places are doing. And if anybody looks at RCSI at the moment, which is just opened in Dublin at a cost of 80 million, that is a really top of the, what would you call it, of the list of very good places to go from a library point of view, but also from a teaching point of view. A fabulous resource actually, and it's definitely worth a visit, which I think will happen in the near future. The Knowledge Lab, again, and talking about makerspaces and visualisation contests, if you link into any of these here, you will see what the students are actually doing, the way they're running all their contests on visualisation. They've done it for the last 3 years in the Hunt Library, and they're given prizes for that. But the whole thing about it is, it's the creativity and the innovation that's coming out of the opportunity of allowing that to happen in space. And I have to say, we have our Blackstone partners here, and ourselves here in the library, and I see some of the things that happen in this room, and it's just absolutely wonderful. Even yesterday, the buzz that was here for a whole day with the students in what was happening. I can't put the names on the door outside what it was, but Peter and ourselves, we have made this provision. We're working with different banks, we're working with different groups. The students are coming in, students that have never met each other before, they're cross-discipline, and they're all working together in something. And the best thing about it is when they leave the room, they actually want to meet up again with the group that they're in to bring this forward. So that's the thing about libraries, is actually giving that opportunity for space and bringing it forward. So in an evolving landscape, I would just say, the library continues and will continue to serve as the metaphorical and physical hub of the campus. Particularly here in UCC, you couldn't get a better location. It's absolutely fabulous. One side of the quadrangle. And not forgetting, we do have 3 other libraries, so I have to be mindful of my colleagues who think I only talk about Bull Library. I don't. But we're also a cultural and social centre. And the plan that I have at the moment, I'm looking at, Mark mentioned about a master plan for space for UCC generally. I have a master plan in the making for UCC Library, and it'll be very much taking in these kind of functional areas to provide this kind of resource, this kind of service, this kind of opportunity for all users that want to come into the library. Something I heard recently which I found really quite touching, feedback from something I had heard from a pilot that had happened recently with our students, Student Central. We had it for 3 weeks. Student Central is to do with the student hub here on campus, and they were out at our desk looking to see the services that are going to sit in the student hub. How could we actually start it now and translate that and bring it forward? One of the things that's come across very strongly from students, especially in their first year, when they're coming across in campus, they may know absolutely no one. We've got lots of lovely spaces around this campus for people to sit down and have a coffee and all of that, but they said the library was the only place that you could actually come in and be comfortable sitting on your own, because there's such pressure socially to be sitting with somebody or being in company and having that. And I thought, well, that was very poignant actually. You know, we're supporting students in that we can actually offer them that kind of safe place, that sanctuary, and libraries would be considered a sanctuary in that. So as well as giving them a multitude of different environments, we have to make sure that they also feel that this place is theirs, that they can come to it. So I would be looking much more in the master plan for a cultural and social centre here. And I know in this room, I know in a few weeks' time we will have Red FM coming in, it's a music station locally, who will be doing things here. We've got plenty of the student societies who come in and do things, and we've plenty of our companies from outside and our entrepreneurs who do as well. And I see Porrick sitting down there, and I've just wakened him up. I'm only playing as you Porrick. And he did a great conference, a 2-day conference here early in the summer on Irish manuscripts. And in this room here, and using the content that we had downstairs from special collections as well as other things that came in. And I thought, well, that's just exactly the way a library should be. We should be able to offer that kind of space for that kind of work. So I'm not even going to go over that again, but I'm going to talk about technology-rich space. And I do like this, so I'm putting it up everywhere. Can I just say now, 2 minutes, because I think it is important. We're doing lots of great things in the library. I'm very happy with the way things have changed over the last year or so. But I did have to host a group of visiting Australian librarians recently, and I took them around the library because this is a wonderful building, thanks to Mark, in the building of the building and the awards it has won. They went round and they looked at our spaces in our library studio, which will be open in other places. They didn't even notice it. This is nothing to them, because they've got so much better for so long and because they're so well resourced. And I thought that was interesting. What really intrigued them, and again this is the future of libraries, what really intrigued them was our special collections librarian and our archivist took them downstairs where we had a whole lot of archives and papers sitting out on the tables. When we started to talk as how we as librarians work with our academics to use the content that's in our special collections, whether it's on paper or digitised, and how that was being used with them for research or with teaching and learning, that really resonated with our colleagues. To the extent they actually took the pages that we were using to take it back to Australia and say, this is what we're going to look at. And I thought, that's fabulous. We may not be getting the technology yet because we haven't had the money for the few years. We've got even better. And the second thing, and you'll be interested to know, that was the student hub. They have very few student hubs as yet in Australia, in the areas that they were in. And the exhibition that we had outside for the student hub, they were just clicking away on their cameras to take that back to try and inform the people that they were working with in the student hubs. That's the only thing I have to say, apart from at 5 o'clock we have an opening of an exhibition outside, and you're all very welcome to come to that exhibition. The President will be there, Professor Jolie will be there as well. It's a really important exhibition showing what we have in our archives, which is unique and which will be there for the future. Thank you.
Colette, thank you very much.